President Trump is a failed leader. He will go down in history as the worst president ever. The good thing is that he soon will be as irrelevant as an old tweet.
When history looks back at Donald Trump's presidency, it won't read like a textbook. It will read like a tragic comedy that spiraled out of control. The man who promised strength, order, and greatness instead turned the White House into the world's longest-running reality TV show. What began with fiery speeches, a cult-like base evolved into endless scandals, indictments, and tweets that made the nation question whether its leader was serious or simply addicted to chaos. Trump wasn't just a president, he was a spectacle. And the frightening part is how many fell for the show. Lies, denial, and blame-shifting became his governing tool. But beneath the circus lights, a darker question lingered. How far can a democracy bend before it finally breaks under the weight of such deception?
President Trump, I just saw your press conference with President Putin, and it was embarrassing. I mean, you stood there like a little wet noodle, like a little fanboy. I mean, I was asking myself, when are you going to ask him for an autograph or for a selfie or something like that? I mean, you literally sold out at this press conference our intelligence community, our justice system, and worst of all, our country. You're the president of the United States. You shouldn't do that. I mean, what's the matter with you? I mean, whatever happened to the strong words or to the strength of Ronald Reagan when he stood there at the Berlin Wall and he said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. What happened to all that?
Arnold Schwarzenegger stepping into this storm was more than just Hollywood mocking politics. It was a heavyweight slamming another heavyweight in a ring the whole world was watching. Arnold didn't tiptoe. He attacked Trump with a mixture of sharp humor and deadly seriousness. His words were not just jokes, they were warnings wrapped in wit. Comparing Trump's fragile ego to a malfunctioning robot wasn't just funny, it was terrifyingly accurate. Imagine a leader whose every move is dictated by impulse, not strategy. That's what Arnold exposed. A president who valued the spotlight more than the Constitution. The audience laughed at the punchline, but the undertone was chilling. If a Hollywood actor can see through the facade so clearly, why are millions still blind to the dangerous reality behind the performance?
I want to ask you a quick question about Donald Trump. He listed his weight at 215 pounds. You are one of the foremost experts on the male physique, bodybuilding, etc. When you size him up, what would you guess that man weighs?
You know, I don't really know how much he weighs. I can tell you one thing, that if you would ask me what should you do for fitness, I would just say run around yourself 3 times. You're going to be in great shape. You know?
Trump's obsession with his image became a running gag in Arnold's roast, but the humor hides a truth more unsettling than the jokes reveal. Every tweet, every rally, every staged press conference wasn't about policy or progress. It was about keeping his face, his name, his brand at the center of America's attention. Trump sold himself the way a desperate influencer sells detox tea, loud, exaggerated, and with zero substance. Arnold painted this narcissism with comedic strokes, but behind every laugh was a sobering reminder. What happens when the Oval Office becomes a vanity mirror? America didn't get a commander-in-chief, it got a salesman-in-chief, and salesmen always need new buyers. The question that remains is chilling. How long can a democracy survive when its leader's only loyalty is to his own reflection?
As an immigrant to this country, I would like to say a few words to my fellow Americans. President Trump sought to overturn the results of an election, and of a fair election. He sought a coup by misleading people with lies.
The chaos inside Trump's White House wasn't just comedy material. It was a dangerous game of musical chairs played with the nation's future. Staffers came and went like background actors in poorly written film, each one fired or quitting before they could learn their line. Policies shifted overnight, alliances dissolved in real time, and the American people were left watching a soap opera masquerading as governance. Arnold compared it to one of his movie sets, but in reality, it was worse. Because the explosions weren't special effects, real. From reckless foreign policy blunder to catastrophic pandemic responses, Trump's leadership left America exposed. Yet millions still cheered, blinded by the show. It leaves us wondering, was this presidency ever about leading, or was it always about keeping the cameras rolling?
They hired a big movie star, Arnold Schwarzenegger, to take my place. And we know how that turned out. The ratings went right down the tubes. It's been a total disaster. And Mark will never, ever bet against Trump again. And I want to just pray for Arnold, if we can, for those ratings, okay?
Perhaps the most devastating part of Arnold's takedown was his focus on Trump's relationship with the truth, or more accurately, his war against it. Facts under Trump became flexible, twisted to fit whatever story played best for his base. One day, he'd dismiss a crisis as fake news. The next, he'd claim he saw it coming all along. It was improvisational theater at its worst, where reality itself was the casualty. Arnold mocked this as a badly written script full of plot holes. But for America, it wasn't just a joke. It was a threat to the very idea of shared truth. If the leader of the free world can rewrite reality at will, what's left for the people to believe in? And more importantly, what happens when that leader seeks power again?
You said history shouldn't repeat itself. Donald Trump is now the front runner to be the nominee of your party, of the Republican Party. Given everything you said, does that concern you?
Absolutely not, because being a front runner of one party and letting them dig this hole deeper and deeper is going to make it easier for the Democrats in the end to win. It's sad to see that they couldn't come up with a new talent, with a new face that is a reasonable, smart, intelligent person that can lead this country in a Republican way.
You think there's no way he would win again?
No.
What if he did?
What is if it is a hypothetical question? But I can guarantee you that he's going to go maybe get the Republican nomination. Then when it comes down to the actual election, there's too many people now that have seen what he did as president, that I think when it comes to the majority on election day, I think they will see the difference between one or the other. And believe me, I'm not the first one to say, hey, this is really great to have Biden back as president. No, but there's just no better option there, the way it looks right now.
Trump's habit of flipping on allies became another weapon in Arnold's arsenal. One moment, Trump hailed someone as the best, and the very next day, he'd brand them a loser or total disaster. It wasn't politics, it was betrayal on repeat, a soap opera scripted by insecurity. Arnold joked about how this unpredictability would make Trump a nightmare co-star, constantly changing the script and forcing others to improvise. But behind the laughter lies a disturbing truth. This wasn't just Hollywood theatrics, it was foreign policy, governance, and diplomacy at stake. How can a nation trust its leader when loyalty means nothing and every relationship is disposable? The world watched as America's allies questioned its reliability. The audience laughed at the roast, but the danger was no joke.
Why do you think you'd be a good president, or would have been?
Yeah, I think that I have the talent to be a good president. And I also think that I have the talent to go out and to sell that idea to the American people. Those two candidates, Trump and Biden, suck all the energy, all the oxygen out of the room when they give a press speech or do anything. So no one else has the chance of getting the exposure. And there's really no one with a big name, so to speak. So that's why it will be easier for me, that from 1 minute to the next, that dynamic would change if I would jump into a race like that.
Then came the moment that left jaws on the floor. Arnold's scathing reaction to Trump's press conference with Vladimir Putin. Standing beside America's adversary, Trump looked less like a president and more like a desperate fanboy, ready to trade national dignity for approval. Arnold called it embarrassing, comparing Trump to a wet noodle. The humor stung because it was true. America's commander-in-chief folded in front of the world, abandoning intelligence agencies, allies, and his own country for a photo op. It was the opposite of strength. It was submission. When a former action hero mocked Trump for lacking backbone, it wasn't just satire, it was a brutal reality check. And if that moment didn't shake Americans awake, what will it take to recognize weakness masquerading as power?
As the former governor of California, my home state, California's been in the headlines. Obviously, there have been these huge protests of President Trump's immigration policies. He threatened to potentially arrest Gavin Newsom if he didn't comply. If you were governor right now of California, how would you be handling the ongoing crisis that the state's facing?
Well, I think the most important thing is when you are in a leadership position like that, is that you are inclusive and that you work together with everybody. And so it means that you have to work together with local government, the state government, and the federal government. They have to work together rather than fighting each other. Fighting each other's agendas and all of that stuff, that doesn't do good to anybody.
And so that's number one. Number two, the most important thing is to create immigration reform. Because all of this is happening because we don't have immigration reform. For decades now, this country has needed immigration reform, which means that we recognize the fact there's people in the south of America that want to come north to work, and that we therefore should supply them with enough visas so they can come, because we need those workers. So this is the bottom line, because then we would know who is here. We will be able to get rid of the criminal elements that are here and all of this stuff, so we wouldn't be in the mess that we're in right now. So this is my way of saying always, Democrats and Republicans have to come together and solve this issue if they really want to be public servants. If they want to be party servants and be party hacks and be tied to their ideology, then it won't happen. But if you want to make this country better, and if you want to improve this country and improve the situation of people's lives and bring the prices down and all of this, you will go and serve the people of America. This is what it is. If you're a public servant, that's what you're supposed to do. So that's what I would do if I'm governor.
Yes.
Arnold didn't stop at Trump's foreign embarrassment. He turned his fire toward the vanity that seemed to define every corner of the Trump presidency. The orange glow of tanning booths, the infamous comb-over, the obsession with gold, everything. These quirks became symbols of a man obsessed with image but blind to substance. Arnold's humor framed Trump as less of a leader and more of a costume character, forever trapped in his own reality show. But the laughter fades quickly when you realize the truth. While Trump obsessed over appearances, America faced crises demanding real leadership. Jobs lost, healthcare under siege, communities divided. Yet the president's focus was his reflection in the mirror. And that's the chilling irony. A nation drowning while its leader worried about looking good for the camera.
Mr. Trump has been indicted on federal charges, but most of the top Republican officials are siding with him against the special prosecutor. How do you explain that?
If the charges are correct, then he is going to be in deep trouble. But at the same time, I have to say that, we're always innocent until proven guilty. So we'll find out what the courts say in the future. But if the charges are right, I think that he's going to be in deep trouble.
And how worried are you about the fact that he could be reelected president?
I'm not worried about it, because I don't think it's going to happen. But that's just my thinking.
The pandemic exposed this flaw in the most devastating way. While scientists warned and governors pleaded for unity, Trump's White House delivered chaos. Mixed messages, denials, and reckless boasts cost lives. Arnold mocked Trump's crisis management as improvisation gone wrong, like a director yelling, "Action," with no script or plan. But for the American people, this was no movie. It was their reality, with families suffering the consequences of leadership built on ego instead of empathy. Trump boasted about miracle cures one day, only to backpedal the next. He minimized threats until they exploded into national disaster. Arnold's roast highlighted the absurdity, but the underlying truth was terrifying. America's leader wasn't fighting to protect his people. He was fighting to protect his reputation, no matter the cost. Trump's endless self-promotion became another comedic goldmine for Arnold, but behind the laughs lurked a warning. Every rally felt like a concert where policy was replaced by chants, slogans, and exaggerated claims of greatness. Every tweet was a desperate cry for validation, an infomercial for the Trump brand disguised as governance. Arnold quipped that Trump's ego needed its own zip code, but the deeper point was clear. When leadership becomes performance, the people pay the price. America wasn't being led, it was being sold a product. And like every overhyped product, the shine fades, leaving disappointment behind. The real suspense lies ahead. Can a nation recover from years of being treated as an audience instead of a citizenry? Or has the damage already carved itself into history?
In the middle of the president's tweet tirade on Saturday morning about President Obama wiretapping his phones, he also took the time to tweet about Arnold Schwarzenegger and The Apprentice, and he said Arnold Schwarzenegger isn't voluntarily leaving The Apprentice. He was fired by his bad, pathetic ratings, not by me. Sad end to great show. What do you think?
I think that Donald Trump's in love with Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's what Arnold Schwarzenegger thinks, and I agree.
Okay, so Schwarzenegger spoke with Michael Smirkanish on his radio show. Here's what he said. Oh, she gave it away.
Final question, unrelated subject, but I'd be derelict if I didn't ask. Why do you think the president is fixated on you? Why does he keep talking about you through his Twitter feed?
I think he's in love with me.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think so.
You've had a long relationship with him.
Oh, yes.
That's all you're saying on that. Thank you, Governor.
Absolutely.
Well, he also talks a lot
Wait,
about
as they say on
Dawn.
Seinfeld, not that there's anything wrong with that, but go on.
He talks
Arnold
a lot about
Schwarzenegger is the only guy who has a better chest than Vladimir Putin.
What made Arnold's roast unforgettable was how he stripped away the myth of Trump's so-called strength. The man who branded himself as the toughest, most unshakable president was revealed as fragile, thin-skinned, and obsessed with appearances. Arnold's punchlines weren't just jokes. They were scalpel cuts, exposing insecurities Trump tried to mask with bluster. From mocking his exaggerated bravado to highlighting his constant meltdown criticism, the roast made clear Trump's greatest talent wasn't leadership, it was chaos. The spectacle was entertaining for a while, but chaos doesn't build nation, it tears them apart. And here lies the darkest irony. The self-proclaimed strongman couldn't even withstand a few jokes without erupting in rage. If laughter can break his armor, what happens when real crises demand genuine strength? Arnold also delivered one of the sharpest blows by comparing Trump's presidency to a failed Hollywood sequel. Sequels thrive on hype, but they rarely live up to the original. Trump's administration, Arnold quipped, was a box office flop. Grandiose marketing, but disastrous reviews. Behind the laughter was an undeniable truth. Trump promised greatness, yet left behind division, scandal, and a legacy dripping with controversy. Like a poorly received film, his presidency generated attention but lacked substance, direction, or lasting impact. America deserved leadership, not a sideshow. Arnold's comparison hit hard because it reframed politics as entertainment gone wrong. And while audiences can walk out of a bad movie, citizens couldn't walk out of Trump's America. The haunting question remains, why did millions still applaud such a catastrophic performance?
He talks a lot about you, Dawn, so maybe he's in love with you as well.
I've always thought that. I think that he really likes me. That's why he talks about me so much. So.
I think the president is in love with success, and he said that the show wasn't going to be successful, and he turned out to be correct, and so he likes to talk about things that he's in love with.
So he's in love with Schwarzenegger.
Okay,
Schwarzenegger, by anyone's
successful.
anyone's standards, is a huge success. He was a governor. He's, so anyways, on.
Right, we've now become lulled into this completely parallel universe of Donald Trump, in which we all of a sudden, this is just kind of normal. It's worth remembering, George W. Bush, when he ran for president in 2000, said he was running to restore the dignity and honor of the office after Bill Clinton, right? There was a time when Republicans actually cared about that. Now we have a president of the United States who just randomly insults B-rate movie actors, and we think, it's kind of cute, right? This is crazy. It's just totally crazy. We just gotten used to it.
Perhaps the most unsettling part of Arnold's critique was his reminder that leadership is not showmanship. Trump blurred the lines until the Oval Office resembled a stage, and the nation became the unwilling audience. Every scandal, every insult, every reckless decision was part of his performance to keep the spotlight fixed on him. Arnold's humor exposed the emptiness of this act, but the consequences were deadly serious. Leadership demands responsibility, vision, and sacrifice, qualities Trump replaced with ego, vanity, and self-interest. The roast may have drawn laughs, but the truth it revealed was horrifying. America's leader wasn't steering the country forward. He was steering it in circles for applause. And when applause became the only goal, the country's future was sacrificed for one man's never-ending show. Even Melania, often silent and distant, became a symbol in Arnold's takedown. Not targeted directly, but shown as the backdrop of Trump's spectacle, like a co-star trapped in a movie she never auditioned for. The awkward glances, forced smiles, and visible discomfort painted a portrait of someone enduring the chaos rather than embracing it. Arnold's roast framed this dynamic with biting humor, but also with poignancy. If those closest to Trump appear reluctant, what does that say about the world forced to deal with him? It was a reminder that beyond the politics, beyond the headlines, real people are caught in the whirlwind of Trump's narcissism. And if even the First Lady seemed exhausted by the performance, imagine the toll it took on an entire nation. Paragraph 15. In the final blow, Arnold made it clear, Donald Trump's presidency will be remembered, but not for greatness. It will be remembered as a cautionary tale, a 4-year spectacle of chaos, lies, and self-obsession masquerading as leadership. The roast blended humor with hard truth, leaving an audience entertained yet unsettled, because behind every laugh was the sobering reality that America's democracy had been stress-tested like never before. Trump sold the country a show, but shows always end. What remains is the damage, the scars, and the lesson. Arnold's takedown wasn't just about mocking him, it was about warning a nation. The curtain may have closed on his presidency, but the question burns brighter than ever. Will America allow the sequel, or has it finally learned its lesson?